Hello, smart scholars. This is Dr. Mboso. By way of recap, we looked at metabolism in the previous video, and we described metabolism as one word that powers several biochemical reactions in living systems. We also said metabolism is organized into pathways, the anabolic pathway and the catabolic pathway. Now, the anabolic pathway builds up biochemical molecules from smaller molecules and also cellular functions. Now, these reactions are powered by one major energy molecule and other energy molecules. This energy molecule is known as ATP. ATP is the major energy currency of the cell. There are other energy currencies, but what happens is that they need to be converted to ATP before the cells can use them. ATP can also be used for cellular signaling. ATP can also be used to reduce hypertension. What it does is that it dilates the blood vessels and reduces, hypertension. ATP can also be used, for the synthesis of DNA, for the synthesis of RNA. So let's look at this important molecule. ATP is an acronym for the word adenosine triphosphate. It is a nucleotide composed of a nitrogenous base, a sugar molecule, and 3 phosphate groups. All right, I'll take it again. It's a nucleotide composed of a nitrogenous base. Specifically, this is an adenine, component, and then you have the sugar and you have the phosphate group. Now, by way of numbering of carbohydrates, you have carbon 1, this is carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5. All right, so carbon 1 is attached to the nitrogenous base. This is adenine, and then carbon 5 is where you have the phosphate groups being attached. Now, what happens? The energy of this molecule is resident in the phosphate group. What happens here is that when the phosphate group is split or broken, the energy from the phosphate molecule is used to power, metabolic processes in living cells. So during biosynthetic reactions, during catabolic reactions, ATP is synthesized. And then the ATP is stored in the cells and used for biosynthetic processes. So ATP acts as an anchor between catabolic processes and anabolic processes. So what are the examples of some of these catabolic processes that generate ATP? We have beta oxidation of fatty acid, we have glycolysis, and we have oxidation of ketone bodies. So these biochemical reactions, generate ATP. And the cellular organelle that is responsible, for the synthesis of ATP is the mitochondria. The mitochondria. This is a very important cellular organelle because it is where ATP is synthesized, and that is why it is called the powerhouse. It is called the powerhouse of the cell. Of course, if you look at the basic components of the cell, you have the nucleus, you have the endoplasmic reticulum, you have the ribosome where protein synthesis takes place. The mitochondria, is the powerhouse of the cell because this is where ATP is produced. Now, what actually is the biochemical mechanism that, during the metabolic pathway that, generates ATP? It is called oxidative phosphorylation or substrate level phosphorylation. That's the biochemical mechanism through which ATP is synthesized. And what happens here after ATP is synthesized, when water is introduced, something happens. We lose one of the phosphate molecules, and then we say at that point that ATP is hydrolyzed. Now, ATP, the word T is tri, telling us that there are 3 phosphate groups, attached to this molecule. So when ATP is hydrolyzed, you lose 1 phosphate group. You are left with 2 phosphate groups, and it is called ADP. I'll take it again. ADP. that is adenosine diphosphate. A further hydrolysis of this compound by the use of water will actually lead to what? The loss of another phosphate group, giving us what? AMP, that is adenosine monophosphate. So this is what happens. Once these phosphate groups are released, all right, they power cellular reactions, which is a very important way the cell sustains itself. So we'll be looking at the synthetic process of ATP in subsequent videos in the mitochondria. Remember, the cellular organelle responsible for the synthesis of ATP is the mitochondria. Drop your comments in the comment section below and see you in the next session. Bye-bye.